Hey everyone, and welcome back to Elemental Cartomancy. I'm coming on to do um, a video response to Simon's All About Tarot 2022 tag. So I've got the prompts beside me. Um, let's get going. So the first prompt is, what was your first deck, and how did you encounter it? So my first deck was this one, the original Rider-Waite Tarot deck. This is a version of the Rider-Waite Smith that's been out for many years. Well, I got it when I was about, I don't know, maybe about 8 or 9 or 10 maybe. It's got these kind of a blue and white rose and lily backs. I always struggle to say that. This one's in order, kind of in order. Um, because it's just like another version of another copy of it that I've got that I keep in order just for like, you know, when I'm studying it and stuff. Um, but I like it. I know lots of people don't appreciate the kind of sometimes the colours can be quite blotchy. One of the things I'm not so keen on is the like when you look at the background here, it has this really kind of a aqua greeny bluey colour, and we see that throughout the deck. The High Priestess in particular is one that I'm thinking of. Although I don't know where Sneaky Little High Priestess has got into. That's just there. Um, I much prefer that to be a nice kind of a blue colour. But I mean, it was my first deck, and it was how I learned. Uh, I do like it. I find it really clear. Like I was able to find the signature on the full from this deck. I'm not picking it up in the camera very well, but it's kind of just above the L here. Um, yeah. How did I encounter it? So I'd I'd wanted a tarot deck, and uh, I was taken to Waterstones, and we asked the person behind the counter about tarot decks, and he basically got a bunch of decks and put them on the counter. So he had a whole bunch of decks on the counter and started asking me questions, like what kind of art do you like, what kind of things, do you like lots of pictures or, and each time I would tell him something, he would like take decks away, um, so if I'm saying I like pictures rather than just pips or, he would take away the pip decks, and he helped me narrow it down and he got it down to just two decks and it was between this one and another one and I don't really know what the other one was. I've got a feeling it might have been the Universal Weight Tarot, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I went with this one, and the rest is history. But that was how I first encountered this tarot deck. What's the last deck that I purchased is prompt 2, and how have my tastes changed? So the last one that I purchased, I believe, is the Tarot of Dragons by Sean Mackenzie, illustrated by Ferrat Salan, sorry. You can see the box is damaged. It came from Amazon, so I'm blaming Amazon for that one, but they did give me a bit of money off it, so can't complain too much. Whoops, this is actually a Rider-Waite Smith deck. It's Rider-Waite Smith inspired, and it has dragons rather than people for the most part. These are the backs. I've not done a walkthrough of this or anything. I'm still to kind of maybe do that. But the images are very much based on the Smithwaite images as I understand it. Let's look at some of I love that tower image. That tarot wrapped around, the dragon wrapped around the tower. Um, yeah, so when you look at the pips, your Two of Wands, three, you can tell that it's very much inspired by the Smithwaite. So Two of Cups, four, etc., etc. So that was the last one. Now, I suppose you would look at those two decks, my first and last, and think, well, his taste hasn't changed very much, has it? But in all honesty, when you look at all of the stuff that I've acquired in between those two, my tastes have really changed a lot. And I'll come on to talk about, what systems that I like to use and stuff like that later on in the video. But um, yeah, as much as those two decks are very, very similar, I would say that my tastes have evolved and changed over time, both in the style of art that I like and in terms of the systems, the tarot systems that I like to use. Um, the next prompt is why tarot? Um, so why use tarot over a different um, system of divination? Um, I feel as though tarot's really versatile in how you use it. I can use it for, future casting, like fortune telling style. I can also use it for self-reflection. It's kind of like having a bit of a conversation with yourself, more from a more objective point of view. Um, you can use it for brainstorming, for getting ideas and stuff. So I like how versatile it is as a tool. Um, and I also love just the tangible experience of using the cards. It's just something that I've always liked to do, and I like it. I like using playing cards as well. Um, it's just something I've always enjoyed. And five is asking about favorite spread. What's your favorite spread? And I've just realised I've missed out tarot pet peeves. What are your tarot pet peeves? Is prompt four. There's a couple that I'm going to mention. One is when so we have lots of different correspondence systems in the tarot sphere and the tarot world. We've got astrology, we've got, the tree of life, like Kabbalah. And then you've got, depending on the theme of the deck, you can get a whole host of different things. You can get numerology, all sorts of different things, you name it, it'll be in a tarot system somewhere. But one thing that does irk me just a smidge is when a system is adopted and it doesn't, it's almost as though there hasn't been a lot of thought gone into how that system integrates into the deck. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? So we've got here the Seven of Pentacles, and this is from the Smith-Waite Tarot. Um, and the meaning of this card tends to, looking at this image and thinking about what the meaning of the Seven of Pentacles is. Um, I would say this is about, perhaps waiting for the right time, or, it's about harvesting after all of that hard work. You're harvesting, you know, the, um, you're reaping the benefits of your hard work, okay? So you've worked hard to grow something, and it's about thinking about, is now the right time to, to reap the rewards, or do I need to wait a wee bit longer? It's that kind of a thing. That's what that tends to mean to me. Um, we've then got a very different system. At least for me, it's a very different system. We've got the Golden Dawn, and I've used the Thoth as an example. Um, adopts so you've got the kind of astrological correspondences here, and the astrological correspondence for for the Seven of Discs or the Seven of Pentacles is Saturn and Taurus. Okay, and Saturn is like a planet of limitation. Okay, it's a kind of I don't want to say it's a negative planet and just leave it at that, because it's not as simple as that. But it's like it boxes things in. It puts a limit on things, and Taurus is all about the things that are of value to us. Okay, it's our valuables, um, for one thing, but the things in our life that are of value and how our value system, how do we place value on different things? These are the kind of things that I'm thinking of with Taurus. Um, so when we think about Saturn and Taurus, it does have for me quite a negative connotation, quite a strong negative connotation. Okay, so you're limiting, it's like limited value. Okay, so it's like the value has been reduced or the value has been boxed in. Um, and you can see here the Golden Dawn keyword is failure. Okay, so for me, these are two kind of a different interpretations of the Seven of Pentacles or Seven of Discs. Now, completely understand there may well be a way of talking that round of making them make sense together. Okay. Um, but one thing that's always kind of I don't know, like it's not as strong as a pet peeve, but it's maybe just something that's made me not as likely to go for a deck as much, is when we get decks that almost it seems without thought and reason just lob the two systems together. So this is the Tarot of Dreams, and we have a very Smith way image. Okay, we see someone who's harvesting what they've grown. They're assessing, is it the right time for me to pick the fruits from this tree? But then we have that Saturn and Taurus um, astrological correspondence on there. You know, and for me, they're almost like two different energies, and it makes me wonder how much thought is actually going into, you know, just is it just being a case of, I'm going to draw them and make it a Rider-Waite Smith-inspired deck, or but I'm going to lob the astrological correspondences on there. Maybe it's the case that there's a lot more thought going into it, and it's a lack of understanding on my part. That could well be the case. But in terms of tarot pet peeves, it's a personal thing, isn't it? So that's one thing that's maybe been a bit of a pet peeve for me. Another thing that I'll mention is decks. Now, I don't mind pip decks, and I don't mind. I mean, there's certain pip decks that I love, and there's certain scenic decks that I love. But what kind of I'll use the word again, kind of irks me is when decks mix it up when they're semi-pip. And when I say semi-pip, I mean some of the cards are very just pip, you know. Four of needles, it's just four needles. It's a pip card. Um, but then you get some that are very illustrative. For the nine of needles, we have this person riding a unicycle. Seven of presents, pretty much just seven presents. There is a wee bit more going on there. Let me see if I can find some better examples. So, I mean, here, the eight of needles, I don't even think we've got eight needles. It is an image. It is a scenic image. So this is what I mean. I love decks that are like this, that are all images. I love decks that are all pips. But it's when they're mixed together with no rhyme or reason to, why one is pip and why one isn't. I don't know, it just kind of it makes it really difficult for me to use the deck. So that's I guess another pet peeve for me, personally to me. Okay, so that was the fourth prompt. The fifth one, favourite spread. So this is what I tried to jump ahead to. So apparently I'm dying to tell you about my favourite spread. So I've got two. I'll mention two favourite spreads. One smaller 3-card spread and one larger, kind of a more larger spread, a 10-card spread. My favourite 3-card spread is the situation, advice, and outcome. So, for example, if I'm pulling cards for, I've got a decision to make today in work. What advice do the cards have for me? Then the situation, the Three of Swords. So, it might indicate that I'm learning something new. I'm having to look up new information, take in new information in order to make this decision. Very much use of the mind, which ties in with the question. What's the advice? The advice is the Knight of Swords. So for me, that's like go for it. Do you know what I mean? Just don't be afraid. Don't hold back. Just absolutely go for it. You know, don't be scared to take a wee bit of a risk. All right. It doesn't have to be perfect every single time. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. You don't have to have everything worked out and ironed out. You know, get an idea of what you're wanting to go, what you're wanting to do, then go for it with the speed of the night and be adaptable. If things come up along the way, then be adaptable and be open to changing. Tweaking your system, tweaking the way that you're working in accordance with what comes up. The outcome is the Eight of Cups, so maybe that suggests that after all was said and done, it's actually not something that we're going to take forward. Okay, so as much as there'll be a lesson here and we'll have something to learn from it, maybe a wee bit of confidence building. Okay, when you look at this person, very much kind of a studiously looking at the books. This person is applying their mind to the task at hand, without fear of consequence. Um, that there's a progression there. That's a transferable skill. That's something that we've learned. It does look as though in the end we're walking away from the thing that we're doing in general, but the skills that we've learned, that's what's important. So anyway, that's the situation, advice, and outcome spread. The other spread, the 10 card spread, I won't try and interpret it all for you because it would take too long. But it's the spread from the Raven's Prophecy, or I think I've maybe changed it a wee bit, changed it up a wee bit as I've been using it over the years. But the Raven's Prophecy Tarot Guidebook has a 10 card spread that, in my opinion, is fantastic, especially when you're trying to brainstorm, a particular situation and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Okay, so card one describes the situation. All right, card two is the kind of the opposing factors. So this is basically the card one is the overall situation. Card two is the stuff that we're having to deal with, the stuff that's coming up, and basically the subject matter of the reading. Um, Card three is the conscious. Okay, so the stuff that we've got our mind on. What are we actively thinking about? What are we focused on here? Card four is the subconscious or the unconscious. Sorry. So this is the stuff that's important. That definitely has a big part to play, but we're maybe not as focused on that. It's in the back of our mind somewhere. All right. Card five is what you think you should do. Okay. So what does the querent, what do I think? What does the querent think that they should do in this situation? All right. Five of Wands, they think they should go all guns blazing, fight the competition. What do you think you shouldn't do? Two of Pentacles. All right. And then the next two cards, so that was five and six, seven and eight are what the cards are saying you should do. Justice. And what the cards are saying you shouldn't do. So we get this kind of a contrast of what you think you should do and what the cards are saying you should do. What you think you shouldn't do and what the cards are saying you shouldn't do. Okay. And it's all about kind of for me, these four cards are the best part of the reading. Um, you know, it lets you look at, right, okay, well, is there a big contrast between what this person thinks they should do and what they actually should do? Potentially, because justice suggests they need to be objective. They need to step back and look at the bigger picture, whereas the Five of Wands, it's adrenaline, it's fire and all, it's fire and all guns blazing. So there's maybe a bit of a contrast there between what this querent thinks they should do and what they actually should do. Um, what do they think they shouldn't do versus what they actually shouldn't do? Um, what they think they shouldn't do, Two of Pentacles. So they think that they shouldn't be putting anything down. They need to keep carrying on doing everything that they're doing. If the Two of Pentacles comes up for me as an advice card, it's telling you you're trying to do too much at one time. Pick three important things that you absolutely need to do and put the rest to one side for now and concentrate on those things. Prioritize. That to me is what the Two of Pence is saying you should do. If this is what the person thinks they shouldn't do, that suggests to me that they've not prioritized their workload, they've not prioritized the stuff in their life, they don't have an idea of what it is they should and shouldn't, how important things are. And it's just they've just got this big mishmash of everything that needs to get done, you know, um, to a point where they're like, oh no, everything needs to get done. There's nothing that can wait. It's to me, it's just that they've not really thought it through and thought, right, okay, let's sit and think, how urgent is this thing? Um, what they actually shouldn't do, the Queen of Swords. So depending on who the querent is, this could indicate another person coming into the equation. Okay. So what they're saying you shouldn't do, be careful not to rely on someone else. to make the decision for you. Okay, you need to make the decision for yourself and you need to take responsibility for your own decisions. Um, be careful not to get too reliant on on an outside force, on someone else coming in and teaching you, basically telling you what to do. So that's just an example of how these cards can bounce off together and read together. So that's 8, and then 9 is the near future, 3 of Swords again, and 10 is the kind of outcome, I guess. Um, so that is the 10 card reading. That's my favourite big spread. The situation, advice, outcome is my favourite smaller spread. Okay, the 6th prompt, preferred system. I actually like a lot of different systems. I'd probably say my two main preferred systems are Tarot de Marseille and Rider-Waite-Smith. And it really just depends on how I'm feeling as to which one I'll use. Sometimes, I'm using a kind of a Smith-Waite inspired deck there, Tarot of the Abyss. This is very kind of a Smith-Waite inspired. I find that using decks like this are good when you want to kind of be really intuitive with the images. But then sometimes I feel, especially when I'm reading for someone else, a pip deck can be really good. Especially Marseille. Marseille is just like the creme de la creme of pip decks, I think. Um, they can be really good because the person isn't seeing. There we go, 9 of Swords, right? So we're seeing a really negative image there, and the 9 of Swords can be very negative, but it can also represent a strong mental force that's, if channeled correctly, then you can use that to get a lot done to further your goals. And you don't necessarily see that in this image. So if I'm reading these cards and I say that, the person might be seeing the image and thinking, well, how's he getting that from that? So sometimes it's good to have like that, the TDM for that, because they won't be as drawn by what's on the images, if that makes sense. Um, Tarot rituals. I've got a couple. When I get a new deck for the first time, if it's come from eBay or secondhand, if it isn't already, I will put all the cards in order. Majors from full to world, 0 to 21. Then fire, air, water, earth. Um, and yeah, that's kind of a mad way of resetting the deck. If I've got a deck that's in order and I want to shuffle it, I always do at least 7 riffle shuffles. So I'll show you what I mean. One riffle shuffle is this. Okay, so that's one riffle shuffle, and for me, I like to do 7 of them, and then I know that the deck is proper mixed up. What I'll often do is after 4 riffles, I'll do an overhand, just to kind of further mix things up, I guess. Um, yeah, in the normal course, just like if it's a deck like this that's already mixed, already well mixed, what I'll tend to do is I'll do one riffle shuffle, and then maybe like 3 or 4 overhand shuffles. Apart from that, I don't really have any tarot rituals, if I'm honest with you. I tend to store decks in their boxes if I have them. I don't have anything regarding like storing them in silk or storing them in boxes or like wooden boxes. Even though I've got some wooden boxes and stuff, there's nothing that I would say is a particular ritual. Um, so yeah, those are really the only rituals that I can talk about. Prompt 8 is how do you use the tarot? Um, so I use it for pretty much everything. I'll use it. I was talking. In fact, I've really already answered this earlier on. When I was talking about why tarot. But I'll use it for introspection. For having that objective conversation with yourself. I'll use it for fortune telling. I'll use it for for future casting. Every day I'll pull cards and say, right, how's my day going to be? And that's divination. That's future casting. Um, Sometimes I'll use it as a kind of a it's a bit of a a psychological tool, a bit of a mirror. I suppose that's more of that kind of a having a conversation with yourself. The other thing is like ideas, looking at situations in a different way and just try to get new ideas from something that's completely unrelated. Um, so yeah, I use it in a lot of different ways. Prompt 9, what is your significator and why do you feel it represents you? Mine's, I would say, is the Page of Cups. Um, I would say that I'm very led by my heart, by my emotions. So water is definitely the right suit for me. Um, and then in terms of Page, Knight, Queen, or King, I do feel as though I can be quite emotionally immature. Feels quite harsh even for myself. But I don't know, my reactions can be quite emotional. I'm one of these people that I've got to, if it's a situation that hits me hard, I've kind of got to say, right, come away from it, give myself a wee bit of time, and then come back to the situation once I've had that reaction and I've vented and stuff. Um, that's generally the best way for me to deal with a situation. I don't have that emotional maturity where someone can say something awful or do something awful or something quite negative can happen where I can just, you know, where I can just deal with it right away. I generally tend to need a wee bit of time to come away, sort myself out, and then come back to the situation. Um, when I form friendships, I form really close bonds with people, and I tend to really trust them. And I mean, not that I've really been let down all that much, but if I am let down, it does hurt me. So there's that kind of a, you know, when I have a friend, they're like my best friend in the world, Um, there's that. All of these things that I'm describing, I feel are aspects of the Page of Cups more so than the other more mature quartz. Prompt 10. What's your most expensive tarot acquisition? I believe it is the Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas, and this is by Andrea Furtick. Absolutely 100% worth it. I say that it was bought for me as a birthday present. My husband got me this as a present, but it is a stunning deck, so it is. The quality of it is just beautiful. The backs are kind of a glossy, but the front, I believe, is kind of a rose petal, or at least it's a very soft matte finish, and it makes it a lot more glidey than most rose petal decks. The images are absolutely stunning. This is one of my favourite decks to read with. So I don't remember how much exactly was spent on this deck, but it was from Little Red Tarot, and I believe it was in the region of around about £70-ish. Um, so it might not be my most expensive. I don't really keep a mental note of how expensive all my decks are and stuff, but it's definitely up there. Okay, the next prompt is your unicorn deck. So I've actually got a couple of answers for this. One would be the indie version of the Lightseers. The Lightseers is my favourite deck, my soul deck, whatever you want to call it. By the Lightseers Tarot by Chris Ann. There was originally an indie version of the deck out, and it looks absolutely stunning. Um, it's kind of obtainable, sort of. You can get it, but for like £400 on eBay every now and then. Um, but yeah, I don't think I would want to pay that much for a tarot deck. I'm not quite in that place just now where I'm willing to pay that amount. But there's another one. So one of my favourite people in the tarot world is Rachel Pollock. And Rachel created a deck called the Shining Tribe Tarot. In fact, here is the box. And I have this is one of my, my most prized possessions. It's not. I mean, it's a mass market deck, and I'm pretty sure it's available. But because it was made by Rachel, and because it was one of my friends that gifted it to me, this is a very special deck to me. Now, Rachel actually made a, a limited number of kind of art editions of this deck that are borderless, and it just contains the images. It looks absolutely stunning. Um, I believe they would only have been available when this deck first came out in maybe the 90s or the early 2000s. I think it was first made. Um, and I've never ever seen a copy of it available on eBay or anything like that. So I would say the kind of a limited edition, limited borderless edition of the Shining Tribe Tarot, that would be my ultimate unicorn deck. Okay, prompt 12. The most important lesson that the tarot's taught you. Um, Two lessons. One is that I'm a lot better at dealing with change than I think I am. Um, I have this go-to phrase where I say, "Oh, I'm not really very good at dealing with change. I don't like things changing." But actually, I am. I'm quite an adaptable person. I'm quite good at dealing with changes that happen in my life, and it was the tarot that kind of enlightened me to that fact, or that just kind of made it clear to me. So that's one thing it's taught me about myself, and the second thing it's just kind of taught me is to be more confident in myself. That I'm better at doing things than what I think I am. I have this automatic. Um, I tend to not think I'm very good at something, or it's not so much that. It's more see if I'm not really good at something really quickly. I tend to adopt this I'm rubbish at it mindset. Um, and that's not the attitude to have with things. Um, and the tarot's kind of taught me to be more confident in myself, I would say. There's other things that have taught me that. Learning piano, for instance, has taught me to be more kind of a patiently confident. But the tarot has also taught me this. And the final prompt 13, is the dinner party question. So if you were to have a tarot dinner party, and it does say tarot dinner party, you're allowed three guests, with one of them being the guest of honor. Who would your guests be? My guests would be Rachel Pollock, um, just because I love Rachel. She's one of my favourite tarot creators, tarot authors, just people to listen to and watch talking about tarot. Marie White, because I love the Marielle Tarot. I'm doing a study group in the Marielle Tarot. I love it so much. Um, and I just think she's a really interesting person, and the amount of work that's gone into this deck and the amount of knowledge and depth in the guidebook, I just think she'd be a really interesting person to speak to and to get to know. And then finally, my final person and my guest of honor would be Max Preston Wisner. And Max is our Deanne's son. Um, Max is a really interesting wee guy. I've got a lot of time for him. Um, Him and his mum Deanne, they glide me every so often. They've even done Max has done a tarot reading for me before. And I'm not just saying this because it's Max, but it was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely so much better than what you would think a child of his age could, could do. And it's just that it's that kid's perspective on things. I think he pulled three cards and was just kind of looking at the images, and it was like I think it was a kind of a what should I do question. And the advice that I got from the reading that he gave me was just really, really good. Um, and he seems like a really nice and funny wee guy. So yeah, Max would be my guest of honor, and that would be my tarot dinner party. And that concludes the tag. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll put a link to Simon's original video in the description. Um, Check out some of the other video responses to this. I've watched some of them and they've been great, so definitely check out the other VRs. Take care, everyone, and I shall see you all soon. Bye.